Today we're here at the National Portrait Gallery of the Smithsonian Institution at the Echoes of Elvis exhibition. My name is Warren Perry and I'm the curator of Echoes of Elvis. What we have inside our One Life gallery is a series of portraits of Elvis which were created after Elvis's death in August of 1977. We're in front of a Howard Finster portrait of Elvis as a baby. It's something of an allegory. You see Elvis with these wings, and painted on the wings are images of angels and starbursts, almost phantom figures. Finster was a visionary artist, and he saw Elvis, after Elvis died, as something of an emissary of God. Finster wasn't limited to images of Elvis. He also painted biblical allegories, and he painted album covers for REM, the Talking Heads, and for the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, he painted an 8-foot-tall Coca-Cola bottle. Red Grooms is to American art as Mark Twain is to American writing. What we see inside this image of Elvis by Red Grooms is classical Elvis motifs. We have Elvis in the gold lame suit. We have the guitar. On the bottom left-hand portion of the guitar, we have the TCB logo, the Taking Care of Business motto that Elvis adopted later in his career. Taking care of business in a flash with the lightning bolt. That image is echoed inside the walls of Graceland as well as on jewelry Elvis gave his friends. We've got an image of Graceland in the background of this as well, with the beautiful girl we can probably assume is Priscilla, and she's got the fashionable beehive hairdo of the late 1960s. Behind Elvis, we have the Cadillac, and then we also have the Tennessee Hound Dog. Red Grooms pulls in a lot of caricature and a lot of fun to this image, which is Elvis standing in front of the gates of Graceland. California's self-taught and visionary artist Donald Paterson created this image of Elvis that's chock full of everything. Not only do we have Elvis front and center, but we also have an image of the artist behind Elvis, a figure on a television behind that image, possibly Ed Sullivan or Steve Allen. And then as we go from right to left, we see the exotic dancing girls and the drummer, the palm trees. We continue to this image of the American flag. Futuristic architecture is in the background, as well as the pyramids. Moving closer to the foreground, we have the motif of the apple tree, as well as the pink Cadillac covering the entire forefront of the image. The pink Cadillac is one of the first things Elvis bought when he came into money in the mid-1950s, and as the story goes, he bought it for his mother, but his mother didn't know how to drive, so here we have Elvis taking that task upon himself. Just as Elvis has many superlatives attached to his name, so does the artist of this portrait of Elvis, Ralph Wolfe Cowan. Ralph Wolfe Cowan is the foremost painter in the world of heads of state and reigning sovereigns. Ralph's painted more reigning sovereigns than any portrait painter in history. What we see in this image that Ralph began from life in 1968 and completed almost 2 decades after he began it is a portrait of the dynamic Elvis of the late Hollywood and early Las Vegas years. Elvis just pops out of that red shirt. It's a very majestic image, and it's also a bit allegorical as well. We see the very dramatic cloud effect in the background, and like the Red Grooms portrait, we also have an image of Graceland here. However, one interesting thing about this image, this is a portrait of Graceland that you'll never see. If you've ever been to Graceland, you know that the lawn in front of it is well manicured, and there's rows of large oaks that lead up to the mansion. Out in the foreground of this, we see almost a post-bellum lawn. It looks as though Sherman's just marched right through it. And we see this cut inside the earth. There's no grass in this image and very few trees. This is actually a Graceland that doesn't exist. Ralph's portrait of Elvis is one of 2 life portraits of Elvis in existence. Elvis never sat for a portrait artist except for Ralph Wolfe Cowan. The sister portrait or companion portrait to this piece actually is in the trophy room at Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee. Elvis as Caesar by Robert Arneson, as we have it mounted here in the National Portrait Gallery's One Life exhibition, stands well over 8 feet tall. The piece itself is pretty large, as you can see. Arneson covered the piece with all sorts of fun as well. We've got 2 heads of Elvis that fall off his shoulders like medals, and then emblazoned across the front of Elvis's armor is a guitar with wings. On the pedestal, Arneson stamped the titles of songs Elvis sang in his last years on concert tours. And then, probably not by accident, there's a heart that he's carved into the bottommost part of the pedestal, and it's splashed in glaze in pink. He has Elvis stamped into the bottom, and the rock on Elvis's left shoulder actually has the word king stamped onto it. Arneson, we believe, is trying to acknowledge in that Elvis was the king of rock and roll.